This is the Biz Call.
Question 1. What's your name?
I'm Kimberly Wiefling. Thanks for having me, Rob.
Question 2. What's the name of your business?
Kind of boring. It's called Wiefling Consulting, but I have a group of consultants I work with. We call ourselves Silicon Valley Alliances. Doesn't that sound much more exciting?
Powerful. Question 3. Describe your business in 1 or 2 or 3 sentences.
We fix the problems that damage or destroy companies. You know those companies where you see billions of dollars of valuation evaporate overnight because the organizational culture was screwed up, leaders were ineffective, and people weren't really working in teams? We turn managers into real leaders and groups of people into real teams who can get impossible things done predictably and repeatably.
Question 4. What's your revenue model? How do you make your money?
We charge our clients by the workshop or by the hour for workshops, consulting, keynotes, and that kind of thing.
Okay. Let me just do a little 4A on here. If you're engaged by a client on a long-term type of an implementation, is that a project fee?
We don't do value pricing. We do a retainer. So, for example, I'll say, pay me 100 hours in advance, and I'll give you a discount, and I'll keep track of how many hours I use, and then I'll update you every month. I don't do fixed pricing because it's too hard to manage scope.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Question 5. Are you brick and mortar, online, or both?
Both. We were mostly in person, but now we're completely virtual.
Question 6, and this is my favorite question. How did you decide to get into this business?
You know, I always knew I wanted to have my own business, but some crazy luck brought me in touch with Japanese people here in Silicon Valley, and they invited me to Tokyo to do some work there, and I took it, and they just loved my style and loved what I did. And so it was pretty easy to keep saying yes when they invited me back over 100 times.
And is that how you started your career? Did you just go right into this, or did you have any prior occupations that may have led you into this?
Oh, I was working in a job for 13 years, 10 years at Hewlett-Packard, and then 3 years in 3 failed startup companies, and I finally, thank goodness, experienced the dot-com bust in the year 2001, where everything went down the tubes, and I finally said, okay, I'm going to just launch my business full-time and never look back.
That's the story I wanted to hear. Question 7. Why would customers choose you over your competition?
Oh, it's a great question. You know, you can read a book about exercise. That will not make your muscles strong. Or you can go to the gym and you can strengthen your muscles through practice. We are the leadership gym. We will actually get you results, not just make you smarter. You know, I always ask people, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds. Help me. Any advice? And they're like, Kimberly, eat less, exercise more. And I'm like, yeah, I know that, but that doesn't help, right? So you have to actually help people get results, not just make them smarter.
Okay, question 8. If you have one, what's your exit strategy and or long-term goal?
About 4 or 5 years ago, I decided I didn't want to be traveling 90% of my time in my life. So I set a goal to cut my revenue in half. I brought in some colleagues to what we call Silicon Valley Alliances, and I started sharing my work with them. So I transferred half of my work to my colleagues, and then I have continued to shift work in the direction of these colleagues as I've wanted to wind down the amount of time I spend working. My long-term plan is just keep working at a comfortable pace as long as I want, as long as I can, and shift work in the direction of my colleagues who are highly capable and wonderful friends as well.
Okay, with that in mind, question 9. What do you do to increase your business?
Well, what we do as a collective to increase our business, like I'm not personally interested in increasing my business, but we are interested in increasing our Silicon Valley Alliance's community business, we are giving excellent service and wonderful results to our existing clients. We have some clients, Rob, that come back to us 14 years in a row, 18 times for some really large and expensive leadership programs. Can you imagine getting that kind of repeat business? That's how we increase our business, by serving these people in excellent ways, getting them amazing results that they can point to, that they can measure, and then they refer us.
That's terrific. I know that when I was a consultant, I suffered from secret weapon syndrome. Go in there, build a company, do everything you have to do, but nobody ever wanted to tell anybody else that they were using an outside consultant.
Interesting. Well, there is something around it. But one of my clients came to us. They're one of the top 5 biggest companies in Japan. They're huge. I can't say their name. They had 22% of people quitting every year. And they came to us, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, and we did a very simple intervention to turn their managers into leaders who weren't boss holes, and we dropped their voluntary turnover problems. Among our graduates, we have like almost 300 graduates. Only about 15 of them quit in 7 years, and the people who report to them, only 12% quit. So we can drop voluntary turnover from 22% to 12% with a 3-day workshop for people to teach them how to be real leaders, not just managers. And this kind of thing we can talk about with other clients and with other people, and that's what gets people interested in working with us, because they want to get results.
Okay, question 10. If you do, how do you measure your marketing success?
We do have a biz dev person who's a hunter kind of guy, and he likes to push business in our direction. So when we convert an interested client into a client, that's what we consider successful. And we typically do that by giving them a prototype. The last year we've been calling it pandemic pricing, free. Give you a free sample in exchange for the chance to get to know you and some feedback, and they get to know us. And if that converts into a paying client, then that is a success.
Okay, question 11. Yes or no? Doesn't have to be any more than that. Are you profitable?
Yes, once again, after the last year, we are now again profitable.
Terrific. Question 12. How many employees do you have?
Well, official employees on the books, I have my own independent S corporation. And I'm in collaboration, as I mentioned, with over 24 independent consultants just like me here in Europe, in Asia, and Australia. So we don't call each other employees. We call it a worker-owned co-op, and we share the responsibility and the upside.
That's a very interesting structure that I think our listeners would be interested in knowing more about. Okay. Question 13 and 14, 2 sides of the same coin. Question 13, what's been the best decision you've made so far?
When I was first asked to go to Japan, one of my mentors about Japanese culture, they said, Kimberly, they will never do the crazy things you do in your workshop. Well, I decided to go anyhow, and they loved it. And that was the best decision I've ever made, was to ignore the advice of that mentor and just go for it. Worst decision was when I was working at HP, 10 jobs, engineering, technology, all this stuff. I quit after 7 years. And then I actually came back after 6 months and quit again after another couple of years. I should have never gone back to Hewlett-Packard. I make a terrible employee. I'm a much better independent consultant.
And that's something that's good that people should know about themselves too. Good, I like that. So, question 15, is there anything that you'd like to add that you think our listeners either would like to hear or really need to hear?
Yes, I would like to say a little bit more about the Silicon Valley Alliance's self-organizing system of worker-owned co-op. We are a bunch of colleagues and friends who've been working together for many years, and all we really did was put up a website that said, hey, we're a company, Silicon Valley Alliances. Now, when we work with our clients, they bill directly to my company. Each one of us acts as the lead person to the client on whichever gigs we're the lead person on. But it is wonderful to have this community of people all over the world who are committed to the same vision and values. And I think that it's something people should explore is non-traditional ways of organizing collective working together. We recently went through something called Touchstone to figure out how to explicitly state what is our vision, what is our purpose and our values, and why do we work together for all these years, and why is it working so well? And I highly recommend reaching out and doing those kinds of collaborative, self-organizing systems without hierarchy.
I can hear our listeners now asking one last question that I don't want you to answer, okay? Because it's probably too private, but I'm sure they're wondering if you have this collective, how's the revenue divvied up?
Oh,
and you don't need to answer that.
Rob, please.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to give you that disclaimer because I can hear their ears burning right now.
Oh,
so go ahead. Sure.
So the person who's the lead person on the client engagement puts up the spreadsheet on Google Sheets and said, here's everybody that worked on it, and here's how much money we received, and here's all of the expenses that were directly related to this, and then asked the other lead people who were key contributors to suggest what percentage should everybody get, what do they think is fair, and then once everybody else puts their recommended percentage of sharing in the spreadsheet, the lead person makes the final decision based on the other inputs. Now, after doing that for a few years, we started to see some consistencies. So now we have some guidelines as far as who the lead is and what does this kind of person get. But it came from the group genius suggesting what would be fair and the lead person considering that. And the way I make sure everybody's happy with me when I'm the lead person, I pay them all a little bit more than they think they deserved and pay myself a little bit less than they think I deserved. And that works really well.
Clever, clever woman. Very good. All righty. Finally, just to recap very slowly and clearly, just give us the name of the business again and a URL where people can contact you.
Let's go with Silicon Valley Alliances, and that would be at siliconvalleyalliances.com. It's worth typing all those letters to get there. Thank you, Rob.
If you'd like to plug your business on the Biz Call podcast, simply visit thebizcall.com and fill out the form. If you become a guest, you'll receive a free lifetime membership to the Biz Call discussion and networking list. If you're too shy, you can still join the Biz Call list at thebizcall.com.